Hello, my name is Bernd Niedergesäß, and today I would like to talk about the new reporting features about ProppFrexx on Air. Actually, we have integrated a new report designer into two of our products, which is ProppFrexx Advertising and News, as well as the ProppFrexx Statistics application. Let's first start with the ProppFrexx Advertising and News module. So you might are familiar with the reporting generation and billing feature already. So you see there's a billing tab up front here, and when you click on that one, the billing report is coming up. You can select the billing period and then generate a report. So far, you have only been able to export this report either into a report, a PDF file, or into a comma-separated file, but you have not been able to actually design your invoices, and this have now been changed. There's a new ribbon item up here called Invoice Designer, and when you click on this one, a new application comes up, which is actually a Snap Report Designer. The Snap Report Designer is actually like a Word document processor, like MS Word for example, where you can completely freely edit a page of a document. With the specialty that the document can contain certain macros which then reference to your data you're linked with the report. In our case, because that's what you see on the right hand side, you see Data Explorer, you will see that there is billing partners available, and under the billing partners you see partner items available. So a lot of fields which you can later on use in your report. By default, the product now ships with a sample invoice report, which is immediately shown when you start the report designer. And this shows you all capabilities to design an invoice. And I have just designed an invoice on behalf of you, and you are now free to modify or even design your own new reports. When you hover over certain elements, you will see that they light gray, and this means those fields are actually macro fields or reporting fields. And you can toggle these in the View tab by Show All Field Codes or Show All Field Results. Let's go to Show All Field Codes. And now you see that the layout completely changes, and where now before a certain value is listed, now a funky reference is listed. You don't really have to care about these parameters because you can safely go to the Show All Field Results and directly navigate and design from there. Let's quickly browse through all the fields which are available. So at the beginning there's a billing partner, My Name, and My Name refers to your company name. That's your company name. We'll later see where you edit these fields in the general settings. The same is true for your address. Your company address you can be listed up here. Then you have a field called Invoice Number and Invoice Date, which refers to the date and the ID of the invoice. And then there are fields for the actual partner. Partner name, partner address, and you can see here the billing period. And then you have a table which refers to the actual billing items listed down here, your partner items for each partner. When you switch back to the File menu, you can already see that two invoices are down here, and you can directly navigate through all the invoices. In my example, I only have two partners in my system, so that's why only two invoices are being generated. And you can directly navigate and switch between these two partners and see the difference. So and for each partner, you can now list all the items. Finally, you can summarize the subtotal. You can apply a VAT percentage value, which is your tax, which is applied to it. And then finally, the grand total amount is being shown here, plus some text. And you see, here's a footer. You can either switch the view to show your footers, for example. You can change your page layout, portrait, landscape, the actual letter format can be defined. As you can see, I can just double-click in the footer, like in Microsoft Word, and change the layout here. So, for example, you want to maybe include your bank name here and your bank account number so that the people know where to pay the amount to. So just type in anything in here, and you're done. You might add images, you can insert pictures, like your company logo somewhere in here, whatever you want. Just change everything you like in the look and feel. And once you're done, you might go back to the File menu and then save your layout. Let's change the look and feel of the items, because what you might see is that the duration, for example, is missing, and that there's a price per second, the people might be interested in the duration. So just navigate to your partner items down here, click on the duration, and then simply drag and drop it over and locate it to the appropriate place in the table and just drop it. And now you can see there's a new duration column. Of course, the size of all the other columns have shifted. Well, that's maybe not too bad, because we can simply align that. So make that campaign a little bigger and make the duration a little bit smaller. You can even adjust the header duration. Let's say this is in seconds, so we can specify that one. And we might even now adjust the format of the played at column, because maybe we don't want to show the year, because as the billing period is given here, it's pretty much obvious that the year is not maybe needed. So whenever you want to format a certain field, just highlight it, and then you're automatically switched to the Field tab, and then you see a property page, the property item. And when you just click on the property item, you can see that this is a billing partner item, and you can format this field, this macro field, and you can format it as a date time. You can use any number of standard columns, like for example maybe this one is more appropriate, where you just highlight 17, or you maybe might want to just remove the year part and then close that one, and then just hit any key, and then you see it's applied to all. Now I might want to make it a little bit bigger. Now I maybe want to introduce a space down here and a dot, and then I can even size that one a little bit so that I don't lose any too much space in here. So now I'm listing the campaign, the played at date in a custom format, the duration, the item name, and then the price per second and the total price. Oh, total price doesn't look good, it needs to be a little bit more sized. Let's go this way and that way. Now that looks a little bit better. Increase that one a little bit more even. That looks much, much better. So let's use it this way. Now it looks perfect to me. Invoice is changed. I added my bank account number, changed my report a little bit, and now I can go back to the filter, to the File tab, and then I can save it as. And when you click on Save As, you will see that there's already an invoice sample template. That's the one which I ship. And now you can change that to my invoice layout, let's say, or just call it my invoice, doesn't matter. And click on Save. Now you have generated your own report. Perfectly fine. That's really nice. So what can you do with all these items in here? I will post a link on the website where I actually will let you know where you can find a complete document about how to work with this Snap Report Designer, because it's an external component which I'm using, and that is well described. But if you're familiar with Word, I guess you pretty much know everything. So like in the Home tab, you, for example, can change fonts. You can, for example, select a certain text and then make it smaller or make it bigger again. As said, in the Insert tab, you can include pictures, you can include new text boxes, you can arrange your paragraphs. In the page layout, you basically can assign your margins of the document. You can specify the orientation, the page sizes, etc., etc. The View menu just lets you toggle between a draft view, a simple view, or the actual print layout view, which is the nicest one, I think. As said, you can toggle to show all your field codes or back to the result codes. You can quickly highlight with one click all the macro fields which are being used in the document. And as you can see, these are the macro fields being used. I've shown you before. And then when you highlight a certain column, you see that the ribbon is automatically expanding to certain other values. Like, for example, you can even filter by campaigns and say, okay, I want to apply a quick filter and only include those from a certain campaign. With an invoice, you normally don't do that because otherwise your invoice would not be complete. But there might be certain situations where we want to charge one particular partner for just one particular campaign, and then it might be useful, these features. You can change the appearance of the list. You can add separators, etc., etc. So a lot of things to learn actually, but I think if you're familiar with Microsoft Word, you will quickly learn how to operate and design your own reports down here. So as said, once you've designed your report, make sure you save it. And now you have three options. There are three main buttons. You can create a PDF invoice. This first button here will create a PDF file for each partner. So each individual partner invoice will be resulting in one PDF file. And then you can do whatever you want with this PDF file. You might print it or you might send it out via mail. If you want to send it out via mail, you can immediately use that button up here, because that button does the same as the previous one. It generates for each partner a PDF file, but then it will also directly send the PDF file out with a certain text to your partners. I will show you in a minute in the general settings where you can configure how the email should look like, how the email text is arranged, and your email settings to send those invoices out. So that's the most obvious option you will use. Or you can use a finish and merge version, which is available, I can quickly show you, to just print physically all your invoices separated on separate pages, of course, and then print them out physically if you want to physically mail those invoices out. In certain countries, this is still required. So let's first take a look at this one. Just select Print Preview. You're now asked if you want to only print certain or all records. Let's take all records because I anyhow have only two. And now you can see two invoices are being generated. You can just increase by using the mouse wheel and holding the Control key. You can see now here this is the first invoice, this is the second invoice, and they can now directly be printed on your physical printer and then mailed out. That's one option. Let's take a look to the Create in PDF Invoice option. I just click on it and it will be asked, do you really want to create all invoice PDF files? I select yes, and it tells me 2 invoice PDF files have been created. So let's take a look at them, because they're created in a certain folder. This is my test folder, and you will see 2 invoices are being generated down here, just PDF files. I just can double click on one, it opens, the other one, it opens as well. So exactly as I've designed them on my screen. First option. Let's delete them. Yes, because I want to show you the other option as well. So let's go back to this one and now select the Create Mail Invoice option. And that does exactly the same. It will create PDF files and then automatically mail them out to all my partners. So click on this one. Yes, I want to create them. It's generating invoice. It tells me exactly the same. 2 invoices have been created. Now switch back to my Outlook, which I haven't done and opened yet. So I quickly will open my Outlook, my mail system, and see what is coming in here. Oh, and I see, yes, there is an invoice being generated, and that's how the email looks like. It has an attachment, my invoice. Yes, that's it, perfectly fine. And some email text. Please find attached your invoice, blah, 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 for billing period. Please pay this amount in the next 7 days. Looks good. So how do I set up all these email things then? Let's first make sure that I save this, because I haven't done so. Save as, yes, my invoices, save, okay. That's all fine. And now we can close the report designer. We can close our reporting engine. And let's take a look to the general settings. In the billing section under the tags here, you can find now your mail settings. Click on it, and here you can set up your mail credentials. Here you must enter all the credentials and information needed for your mail server to send out emails from this application. And then you have a new billing and invoicing option. Let's take a look at that. Here you can specify your company name. That's exactly the text which is being shown on the report header. The report address, which is your address, your VAT number down here, your tax number, and you can specify a last invoice ID. And this invoice ID is being incremented automatically whenever you generated invoices. Invoices are then generated in this invoice folder using this invoice file name template, invoice underscore and then you can see there's a macro being used. You might be already familiar with macros. If you hover over the labels down here, you can see in the tooltip which macros you can actually use. Typically, you just want to include the invoice ID, the invoice number within your file name, contained then in this folder. I've already shown you that folder. And then you have the two options to specify your mail subject text, Radio 42 Edward invoice, and then also the invoice number has been listed. And you can specify your email text. And this is exactly the email text we've just seen. You can enlarge that. Dear contact person, please find attached your Edward invoice, then macro invoice number for the billing period. Please pay the amount of grand total within the next 7 days. Many thanks. My name. So that allows you to set up all your invoicing requirements. Now let's take a look to the partners, because that is important. When I added a partner, let's take this partner, you will have the name, which is of course then be listed in the report. You have his address, his VAT number, the contact person name, that's the one being used in the mail letter, and you have the contact email address. If you ever forget to specify it, let's do it, you will get maybe errors during your invoice generations, because when you want to mail them out but you haven't given an email address, that's not good. So let's try this. I open up my billing reporting engine again, select the billing period, generate the report, and go back again to the invoice designer. Same thing, but you might now ask, oops, where is my duration? I've just changed that. Note that there are now two invoice templates existing, and the system just loads the first one it founds. Sorry. So if you want to make sure that my invoice example is not existing anymore, you might want to delete it. I can do this. Or you just switch to my invoice template, and now you're back. You can see it immediately changes the layout, and you can pick multiple ones and then select the appropriate one. Let's select my invoice again, because that contains the new duration column, and go to the create mail invoice again. As said, if you want to delete that, you might simply go to save as and delete the invoice sample down here, delete, and off you go. It's not shown anymore. But nevertheless, let's take the my invoice example, and because it contains your bank account number now, and go to create email invoices. And let's see what is happening, because there's one partner without an email address. I click on the create email invoices. Yes, I want to generate them. And now you see a new dialog comes up, invoice errors. Okay, the mail blah 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 was sent out successfully for that partner, but for this partner here, I get an error. Mail was not sent, no contact email address given. Okay, that's not really good, so I have to correct that. So what you can now do is, whenever you have errors, you can simply close your report. And now you will even be asked if you want to increase the last invoice ID, because the system knows that there have been some errors occurred. So it will ask you if everything was okay or not. And now you can select no, I don't want to increase my invoice IDs, because otherwise the next time you get new invoice IDs is no, I don't want to do that. You can close the billing report, and you can now adjust your email address. And now you can do it. And as said, remember, whenever you want to generate new or adjust your invoice IDs, you can always do it here. They're automatically incremented. Remember, 1023. Let's just run a report again. Select the billing period, create report, invoice designer. New IDs is then 24. Next record, 25. So now I can create the invoice again. Everything's fine. Now no problems anymore. Closing it, and now the last invoice ID should have incremented again. So really be careful with your invoice IDs here. but you can always reset them, edit them, run them, the report again, etc. If you're in trouble, no problem at all. So that's all about the reporting engine. I hope you understood what I'm trying to do. As said, when you generate them, make sure you adjust your layout exactly to your needs, and then you can instantly generate your invoices and print them, mail them out. So it's a seamless integration of billing. The collection and payment part still needs to be done in your financial booking system, of course. I'm not a financial booking system, so payments and collections have still been tracked in your financial booking system, but I guess that is easy. And if you need an interface, consider this export button here, because the export allows you to export all your items into a comma-separated file, and then it can be exported directly or imported back into your financial booking system. But that is a task you have to discuss with your financial booking system then. All right, let's go to the next option which is added, and that is the ProppFrexx statistics application. You might be familiar with your statistics application. You're able to select a folder which contains all your statistical data. Within ProppFrexx on Air, you can specify this certain statistic folder, which is by default in your app user data, and then underneath a stat folder. And then per year, you might have all your statistics available. So you might select a folder containing your statistical data, and it's then loaded. So in my case, I've loaded 13,000 rows for 2 months just because it's just sample data. But it's still enough. But you can easily load 100,000, 200,000 rows. Every time you play an item in ProppFrexx on Air, it will be recorded in your statistics applications. And so far you have the pivot grid and the table grid as example. Let's quickly look through them. So here, in the pivot grid view, you can group, for example, for statistical purposes, your data by certain criteria. In my case, I've just listed per year and month and playout hour. I grouped the playout counts by genre. So I want to see like what genres are most being played. And now I can select the entire January, the entire year 2000, or just individual dates, and you will see that the graphical chart is automatically aligned. I can even select a different view and see how this evolves over time. Nice chart elements can be seen here. You can even arrange with them, hover over them to see the legend. Really nice tool. That's the pivot grid, all existing before. Same with the table grid. The table grid basically shows you all items, in my case all 13,182 items down here, and you can just see what is in there. Great tool actually, and you can now search and filter for it. So for example, if you want to see tracks from Aretha Franklin, you might, Aretha Franklin, you can just quickly go Aretha, press enter, and now you see everything from Aretha contained anywhere. If you only want to see for artist Aretha, type it in here, and you're immediately finding all tracks from Aretha Franklin. Or if you're looking for a certain title, Red Payback, quickly just type it in, and you immediately find your tracks being played on the exact date, for how long, etc. So this is a nice lookup tool for reporting purposes. One of the main things which have been missing is because you might be able or you might be forced to file certain reports to your regulatory authority, for example. And now you have a new item down here, the Snap Report Designer. And that Snap Report Designer pretty much works exactly the same way like the Invoice Designer works. On the right hand side, you have all data fields available. Let's enlarge that a little bit. All these fields are available here for a report. The system comes shipped with a simple sample playlist log report. Let's take this report. Played at, artist, title, ISRC. I have not maintained my ISRC numbers in my sample, I'm sorry for that. And the duration. And then you can print that out. Very, very simple. And you can do exactly the same like before. You can just modify this report. If you, for example, want to add an additional column, just choose that additional column down here and drag it over, place it to the appropriate position, and here you go. If you want to remove one, just make sure you select it again. Just hover over so that an error appears down here. It's a little bit tricky. Right click and then delete columns. And you're back to your original report. Note that whenever you make changes, that you can now go back to the File tab down here and then save this report as a new one. Note again that under the Open menu you will find all reports you have so far designed, and you can quickly toggle or select a new report. Or you can even create a new one. Let's do this. I click on New Report. Then maybe I first want to go to my page layout and adjust that so that I am on A4 and orientation landscape. I'm going back to Home, and now I can enter my first data, my report. This is my header. Make it a little bit bigger, make it full bold, and maybe put it in red or pink. I don't care. No, pink really looks ugly. Let's select red. And now I want to include my data. How do I do that? Just simply go to the right side and select all the columns you want to include. Hold down the Control key, this is important, hold down the Control key while selecting multiple columns. So I hold down the Control key and select album, duration, title, I don't know, play date. And they are added in the exact same order in which I selected them. So let's do that. Just drag and drop. Oops, now I have selected all. What can I do? Just go back to File and undo if you just selected to include everything. So let's do it again. Album, hold down the Control key, title, and let's say the play date. That's all I want to have. And now only select those three, and then you get only the three selected. Right? Hold down the Control key and then drag and drop exactly these three columns over. If you just pick this one here, then all are included. That's not what you want. File, undo. Album, Control key, title, play date, only these three, and then here you go. Same thing if you want to reformat, for example, the play date because your default is not good. Just select one item, go to the Fields property element, and then you can format the string. Pick a date time and select whatever you want. I don't know which one looks good. Let's say a compact one is maybe nice. Let's say you want to select this one here. That looks good. Close that one here by clicking somewhere else, and then it's applied to all fields. Don't wonder that in this report designer you only get the first 20 rows being shown, because remember, you're working on 13,000 rows, so it would not be good if the designer shows always all columns. So if you go to a header, for example, you will see list down here, and then you can see and select how many rows should be initially shown during the design phase. You can select between show alls. Never do this because then it's really slow. 5, 10, 15, 20 is the default, which is basically a very good value. So once you have designed your report, you can print it or even save it. Let's say save as again and say this is my first report. Save it. And now you can preview this report for printing it. Preview the button, and that be sure this takes a little longer because now you're rendering a report for all 13,000 or 100,000 rows. And initially this might take a little bit of time because it has to collect the data and put it into the report and format all pages. As you can see, it took a little bit of time, and 450 pages have now been rendered. Wow, that's a lot. It makes maybe no sense to print such a large report because maybe you only want to generate the report for a certain period of time and for the entire year. So this you can do if you just select the table, go to your List tab, and then you have a filter button down here. Now you can click on filter and add filters. And maybe you want to say, okay, I just want to create a report where the play date is greater than or equal than, let's say, the 1st of the 1st of 2017, plus the play date is less or equal than, let's say, the 7th of January 2017. That looks good. And now let's preview the document again, how it now looks. It was much quicker because now it only contains 52 rows. Much better. 52 pages, sorry. Much better. Instead of 400 something, only 52. So you can generate reports only for a certain period of time, etc. You might now close that report and you're back to where I've been before. You can reopen it at any time. And now just notice, now you have two reports available under the open item. The standard one, that looks like this, and your own one looks like this. So I think we can pretty much easily get familiar with the reporting. As said, if you want to modify it and want to include the genre, for example, just drag and drop that field to the appropriate position and off you go. Now save it and you're done. Now you can close the report, open it again, and as we've saved it, all is back as before. So I think this reporting engine now gives you a lot of capabilities to fulfill all your regulatory authority requirements or your partner requirements to whomever you want to report something. And as most fields are available here, I think you will have no problem in designing really nice reports. Thanks a lot for listening. My name is Bernd Niedergesäß.